Watch Good News Detroit every Saturday from 12:30 to 1 p.m. and repeated Saturday night from 9 to 9:30 p.m. Get great information to increase your quality of life with the best health and wealth strategies available today. See dynamic guests and celebrities talk about their success and how you too can get your financial and health needs where you want them to be.
Bone Crusher, show me how you did that famous punch.
Well, it's going to be a knockout.
You know what I'm saying? And, in a couple of weeks, it's going down. Hallelujah. Yeah, I know she's looking down on me right now. You know, but hey, she know that my gift, you know, has been to give God the glory. So that's all I know to do. Amen. So we thank everyone for coming out today. We love you. Man, let's get this party started. With a prayer for all. Prayer for all. Yeah.
A prayer for all, everyone.
It's a prayer for all. Oh, yeah. Listen, y'all. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray to God, my Prayer for all. Prayer for the parents, the children, and of course, the elders. You see, we all need prayer in a world like today. There's so much going on. All struggle, strife. You see, we just need to lift one another up in prayer when we get up out of bed in the morning. We need to get down on our knees, give thanks to the Lord of above. Oh, yeah. Hallelujah. A prayer for all. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Prayer, 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 prayer. Yeah. Prayer for all. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a prayer for all.
Welcome to Good News Detroit. I'm your host, Will Banks, for the show. So happy to have you with us today. We have a very dynamic guest on the show with us. We're being cognizant and honoring many of our individuals in recognition of Black History Month here in February 2018. So we have a very dynamic guest on the show for you today. We're going to be talking about some very interesting topics. And I want to introduce to you my guest, Miss Katie Harvey, dynamic, beautiful young lady to my right here. Miss Harvey, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
I met Miss Harvey within the last 2 weeks. She called in response to our low-cost and no-cost life insurance program, and she is a veteran of the U.S. military. So we're very happy to have her on the show. Miss Harvey dedicated 11 years of her life in defense of this country. In what branch of the service were you, Miss Harvey?
United States Army, sir.
United States Army. All right, that's so great. So we wanted to honor her on the show today, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her military experience. And we're going to start by asking her, Miss Harvey, how has your military experience helped you in your personal life?
I can truly say that I had a blast in the military. The United States Army helped me grow as a woman. It catapulted my whole life to where it is now. If I didn't go to the military, I think sometimes, what would I have done? I was a sergeant in the United States Army. I was assigned to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, where I helped, I want to say I helped young people get to where they needed to be.
Oh, that's very, very, very good. So at that point, I wanted to ask you, what would you say to young people, especially our young women, about a military career, about considering a military career?
Well, first, I think that for a woman, they need to know that it's like 20 to 1 in terms of men to women. My experience as a woman in the military, it was pretty good. If a young woman today, knowing that we have an active war going on right now, that's something I think she might want to think about if she has children or a family. But a young woman, I think it would just be the right thing to do right now to get her catapulted to where she wants to be.
Okay. So what are some of the benefits? I know there are many. What are some of the benefits, more prominent benefits that you're aware of in giving military service?
Well, there's there are lots of benefits. There's one benefit that's called compensation, and the other is pension. If a service member get hurt on active duty, they would file a claim, and then the board would deem that they would be denied, or they would get the claim granted, and then they could go to something called Voc Rehabilitation. That's down at the 477 Michigan Avenue, the Department of Veterans Affairs, 12th floor. I hope I answered your question. I'm a little nervous.
That's very good. That's very good. And so, as before I segue into our low-cost, no-cost life insurance, tell me, Ms. Harvey, why do you think it's important for everyone to have life insurance?
Well, Mr. Banks, that's a good question. I found out that my brother passed away last year this time, and he had insurance. And it was a good thing because it ran really smooth by having that insurance. Then my My cousin died maybe 4 or 5 months after, and he too had insurance. That went smoothly. And then to say my friend died maybe a month ago. She didn't have insurance, sir.
Okay.
And they were considering GoFundMe. They were all up in airs about how they were going to pay for the funeral. I just thought to say to them right then and there, let me tell you what I know about life insurance and why it is that you need to tell other people to disseminate the information that life insurance is something that's going to help you and your family. Once you become deceased, life goes on for your children, your wife, your household, your taxes,
That's right.
your state.
Yeah.
So I think that you shouldn't be caught without
Unprepared.
having it prepared.
Very good, very good. So, it's something we're all gonna have to deal with at some point in our lives. Death is a part of life. It's the end of life. It's inevitable for every person. None of us lives forever, so we want to try to be prepared. And so we talk about low cost and no cost life insurance on our program to help individuals get the information they need to make informed decisions about a life insurance program for themselves or their loved ones. Now, I think you had some questions for me about that too.
Yes, sir. I have a couple. Well, first, my niece, Shanita, she asked me to ask you, can you keep your life insurance from your job once you leave your job or retire?
Okay. First of all, let me quickly say that our insurance expert, the dynamic Mr. Noli Jackson, my brother, my friend, my mentor, my leader, is not with us today. He's out on some very special appointments today. He'll be back with us next week. Mr. Noli Jackson can be reached for any insurance questions at 248-376-9963. And for anything you see on Good News Detroit, you can also call me, Will Banks, at 313-350-7215. In terms of keeping life insurance that you have through an employer, for example, it really depends on the employer. You may lose all life insurance the moment you leave your employer. Some employers will allow you to keep a reduced amount of insurance. You may have had $100,000 or $150,000 of life insurance coverage through your employer. That's a group life policy that they have that covers all employees. As soon as you become hired as an employee for that employer, they have you sign up for their group life insurance, and there may be a nominal contribution that you're not required to pay. It could be $5 a paycheck, $15 a paycheck. It just depends. But it's usually much more affordable through that employer's plan than it would be if you were getting it on your own, simply because they have a wide number of people covered under the plan. So they have like what's called a blanket policy that covers all employees from day one. When you leave that employer, in many cases, that insurance ceases the moment you're no longer actively employed for them. In some other scenarios, some employers will allow you to keep a reduced amount of insurance. It may have been $150,000 or $150,000 while you were working, but once you retire, it may go down to maybe like $25,000 in retirement. $25,000 will pay for most funerals that I'm aware of and leave some extra money left over, but it's not going to be that $100,000 or $150,000 that you had when you were working. So that's one example of in response to the question, can you keep your life insurance after you leave the job? It really depends on the employer. I think back years ago, back in the day, as they say, the UAW, United Auto Workers, had insurance that would cover you once you left the job for a reduced benefit, though. So again, it just depends on the employer and what they offer or do not offer in terms of you keeping the insurance or not keeping it once you leave the job. What was your next question on that?
Yes, sir, please. The next question is, how does one decide how much coverage you need, and why is that important as to how much coverage you would need?
Well, you want to look at, in terms of how much coverage you would need, you basically want to look at income replacement, as they say. For example, if you make, let's say, $5,000 a month, that's your budget for your family, $5,000 a month, which is $60,000 a year. So maybe you have employment where you make $50,000. Maybe you have a spouse or domestic partner that makes another $20,000 or $30,000. So that household is operating on, let's say, $80,000
Right.
total. Then after their taxes, all taxes are deducted. Maybe they have a net of around $60,000 or $5,000 a month for their bills and expenses. So if you're talking about income replacement, you want a policy that's going to go, if you're operating on $60,000 a year for your operating budget for your family, you want to have at least that much of insurance coverage, $60,000 or more,
Right.
to cover what income would have been there once that person that produces the income has deceased. So again, if your budget is $5,000 a month, you want to have enough insurance to provide $5,000
Right.
a month going forward for as many years as you can. So if you're using, let's say, $60,000 a year, is going to be lost once that individual deceases from the family, or that amount is going to be reduced from the family's budget. You want to have enough to cover that for probably the next 3 years, which means you would need $180,000 of insurance to cover that $60,000 for 3 years. To give your budget for time to recover from that loss and give you 3 years to work on replacing that loss or reducing other expenses to keep your budget actively compatible with your spending needs from month to month.
Okay.
And what was the next question?
Yes, sir, please. Can you please explain to my community, my church, and the audience, what types of life insurance, how many types are there? And can you explain the difference between the 2 or the 3?
There are several types of life insurance. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time here today to get into all of them. But basically, you have the life insurance, which normally will be in the area of whole life insurance,
Okay.
and term insurance. Term insurance is just what it says. It's active for a specific term. It could be a 10-year term, a 20-year term, or a 30-year term. One example for a 30-year term is a home mortgage. Most of the time, we have a 30-year repayment plan for a home mortgage. So you want enough term insurance to cover that 30-year payment plan in case something happens to the breadwinner in that home.
Right.
If that happens, there's enough insurance to pay off the mortgage, so the family now has a paid-for home to continue on with their lives. Another example of life insurance is whole life insurance. Whole life insurance just does just that. You keep it until you decease, up until age 100. If you live to age 100, they give you the full benefit of the insurance just as if you had deceased. So if you got a $50,000 policy, $50,000 whole life policy, it's going to cover you, and you pay the premiums every month and keep it active. It's going to cover you up to age 100, and then at age 100, if God has blessed you to still be with us and still living, this is going to give you the $50,000, the same what they would have if you had deceased before that age. So that's the example of the whole life insurance. Then, of course, we have all sorts of auto insurance, homeowners insurance. There's just so many different categories to cover ourselves and our possessions in terms of our homes, our cars, accidental death insurance. There's just so many categories. You have some companies offer a cancer policy, critical illness policy. There's several categories within the realm of life insurance and health insurance, and also property and casualty in terms of our automobiles and our other properties that we may have, other houses or other dwellings that we may have. It could be a business,
Right.
commercial establishment. You have to have insurance on that commercial establishment as well. That's all under property and casualty. But if you want more specific information on that, call me, Will Banks, at 313-350-7215, or my co-executive producer, Mr. Noli Jackson, at 248-376-9963. Mr. Jackson will be available back with us here next Tuesday, February 6th. You'll be able to reach him. And what was the any more questions on there?
Lastly, please. Lastly.
This is so much fun.
Lastly, this is something that for all the listening audience, if you're really listening today, I want to ask Mr. Banks to look directly in the camera and answer this question. Why would someone not need life insurance?
I'm going to look directly into the camera. Why would someone not need life insurance? Well, you take an individual and you look at their personal needs, and some of us have been blessed to be basically self-insured. If you've got $500,000 in the bank or $1 million in the bank, when it comes to paying for a $5,000 or $10,000 funeral, that's probably not going to be a problem for you. So those of us who have massive assets, may or may not need a life insurance policy. However, there are always strategies where a life insurance policy can become very, very valuable and very, very necessary. One prime example that I can think of, whether you're, I don't care how wealthy you are, is paying taxes on an estate called estate tax. A lot of times, if you're leaving an estate to your loved ones, and that estate is worth $5 or $10 million, you can take out a $5 or $10 million life insurance policy to cover the estate tax. And the premiums that you'll pay for that estate tax life insurance is going to be much less than you will pay for the estate tax itself. That's one of the prime examples I can think of, even though you may be independently wealthy, where an example where you could still benefit from having a life insurance policy in place. That's about the best example. Other than you just got so much money, you just don't need the insurance.
Right.
All right. So we're going to move on now, and we're going to show, again, for the no-cost and low-cost life insurance, call me, Will Banks, at 313-350-7215. You also call my co-executive producer, Mr. Nolie Jackson, at 248-376-9963. And we, as always, we always promote our credit repair program through Financial Education Services. We also promote our Moringa Health and Wellness Supplement. So if you want information on those programs as well, please call me at 313-350-7215, or my co-executive producer, Mr. Nolie Jackson, at 248-376-9963. We're back on tonight in prime time from 9 to 9:30 p.m. as we are every Saturday in our normal time spot next Saturday, 12:30 to 1 p.m. I want to thank you so much for being with us, and we're so happy to have Ms. Katie Harvey.
And thank you, sir.
U.S. Army retired. All right. Hope you got some good information, and hope you feel motivated for some of the things we talked about today. We're back on tonight in prime time from 9 to 9:30 p.m. We're just about out of time. We're going to go ahead and sign off now with my gospel group favorite singing, You Better Be Ready. So God bless you, Detroit. Be well and be safe. We love you, and we'll see you next Saturday.
How many of y'all know that? How many of y'all know that? You better be ready when it comes. And I'm not playing. Amen.
Come on, put your hands together for Jesus. Come on. Listen. You better be ready when it comes. Well, will you be ready when it comes? Hallelujah. Gonna be ready when it comes. Well, gonna be ready when it comes. Listen. Time after time, and over again, said we put off things that should have been done then. Hallelujah. The lady don't remember, yeah, what we were gonna do. Can you hear me now? But if we forget about Jesus, well, what do you think he'll do? He'll say, get away from me, sinner, and get away from me, sinner, too. Stop. Think about him. Well, yeah. Stop. Think about him. Hallelujah. Stop. Think about him. Hallelujah, Jesus. Stop and think about him. Listen. Time after time. Well, and over again. Hallelujah. The word tells us how to move and how to take a stand. Listen to me now. And it's not that we don't know, yeah, and it's not that we don't care.
Watch Good News Detroit every Saturday from 12:30 to 1 p.m. and repeated Saturday night from 9 to 9:30 p.m. Get great information to increase your quality of life with the best health and wealth strategies available today. See dynamic guests and celebrities talk about their success and how you too can get your financial and health needs where you want them to be.
Bone Crusher, show me how you did that famous punch.
Well, it's gonna be a knockout.